As we sit here in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, I come out of yesterday inspired and encouraged and optimistic. Because I think that's in large part what Charlie would want. We had multiple moments yesterday at major sporting events across this country where there was a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk on the biggest stage in our sports universe last night, that being Thursday Night Football in Green Bay between the Packers and the Commanders. We had the President of the United States show up at the New York Yankees game, of course, on the 24th anniversary of September 11th. And there were chants for Donald Trump in USA. And I don't bring this up to say, well, this is good because, well, my preferred side got some love from the sports world, which is not all that typical, let's be honest. It's because for a moment, there was unification. Now, do I think all this is going to sadly fall by the wayside? I do, because it always does, at least in recent American history. But I can't think about that right now. What I want to think about, what I want to embrace, is the outpouring of support that continues for whether it's Charlie Kirk's now widow, his young children, for his movement, for his organization, Turning Point USA, or for the millions of people who followed him in the conservative movement. There has been an outpouring of support for those folks, and you saw it on display last night, like when the Green Bay Packers did this.
The National Football League asks that you please join us in a moment of silent reflection following the murder of Charlie Kirk. The NFL condemns all violence in our communities. It will take all of us to stop hate. Thank you.
Now, the moment of silence could have been more than 2.2 seconds, but I don't want to quibble here. I literally counted that. It was about 2.2 seconds, but, okay, I'll take it. Either way, the point is they did it. They did it. They did the right thing in Green Bay. The NFL made the right call. And that's what we should be doing more of. We need more of that, not less of that. Because at least for a moment, it allows people to reflect. Whether you agreed or disagreed with what Charlie Kirk stood for and his beliefs and what his opinions were, isn't really the point. It's almost irrelevant to the conversation. And that's what even those who disagreed with him need to realize. The point is not whether you agree or disagree with somebody. The point is political violence remains out of control in the United States in 2025. That's the broader point. And if we can't agree on that, if we can't come to that conclusion together and do whatever it takes, whether it's a moment of silence to reflect at an NFL game or have long-form conversations on shows like this on KCMO, it doesn't matter. We've got to be able to agree on the same set of facts. 2 nights ago, now, I guess it was 3 nights ago now, it was Tuesday, when, I was at that DEI panel that I was a part of at Rockhurst University in Kansas City. And the next morning, we talked a lot about it here on KCMO. And the line that I used that night when I said something that offended somebody, I said, facts can't offend you. They inherently can't. Now, an opinion based off of the facts could theoretically offend you. But a fact in and of itself cannot be offensive. And that's something that Charlie would talk a lot about, not using that phrase. I think I just more or less made that phrase up when I was on the stage on Tuesday night. But it was something that he leaned into. We have to agree on the same set of facts. And then after that, you can opine. We can have very different opinions in this country. That's the beauty of America. That's what it's founded on. The idea that you and I can have the same set of facts and you can believe something entirely different from me. We want more of that. That's healthy. That's good for the country. But it can never turn to violence. It never should. It was never intended to. But for too many Americans right now, they feel like that's where they need to go. And let's be honest. When you have people who are out there willy-nilly throwing around the word Hitler for a politician, right? When you're doing that, I mean, we were joking the other day on the air about how bad the mustache movement is here in 2025. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I cannot believe that the porn stash is making a comeback in this country. And no, I'm not jealous, okay? I know I can't grow a mustache. Well, I could. It would take like 4 weeks and it would look pathetic. But that's not the point. I promise you I'm not jealous. But we joked the other day on the air about how, hey, Trump's clean shaven. We're not going down the road of mustaches. I hope he never does. And I think it was Mark who's got the day off today. But I think it was Mark who made the joke on the air that if Trump ever grew a mustache, they'd really lean in to that whole Hitler comparison they've been making for going on a decade. And we laughed about it and we chuckled about it. Because let's be honest, it was partially true. But in the wake of the news this week, it's also wildly dangerous. And we live in a world now where the temperature is turned up so high and people throw around these analogies and comparisons like it's nothing. And to the wrong people, to the mentally ill folks, that can have real life consequences. And that's part of what we saw with Charlie Kirk 2 days ago as the manhunt continues this morning. Now, we do know, according to authorities, that officials have received more than 7,000 digital tips and leads in connection with the shooting. This is the most that they've received since the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. But there still is a massive manhunt underway, and nearly 200 interviews have been conducted as the search for the shooter continues. So we are now going into, I guess we're into day 3. We're approaching the 48-hour mark. And I looked it up earlier because I forgot last December when that nutjob Mangione shot the United Healthcare CEO. How long did that manhunt go on for? I thought it was a couple of days. It turned out to be 5 days. So sad to say, we may be waiting into the weekend to figure out who this person is. But one thing that was noted last night by law enforcement as well as I was watching some of the press conference, I thought it was a very smart point. If this person continues to stay on the move, that's good because of how many cameras exist in our society today. It's good if they stay on the move. It's not good if they're holed up somewhere. It's not good, obviously, if they've taken their own life. That's going to make this that much more difficult. Because Mangione, you may recall, he was all over the country. They found him in what? Eastern Pennsylvania is where they ultimately tracked him down. He was on the move. Being on the move is a good thing to try to catch this guy. But we're now waking up on a Friday morning and the manhunt is still on. 913-408-7957 is our text line and our studio line on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app at 6:14 this morning. The President of the United States is set to hop on Fox and Friends at some point, and as a Fox affiliate, we will work to carry that for you here on KCMO whenever it does happen. It will be the President's first interview since the assassination of Charlie Kirk 2 days ago. So when that does happen, we will bring it to you right here on 95.7 FM. In the meantime, we also heard from Frank White, the Jackson County executive, who is set to be recalled. So there's a lot of moving parts this hour. We're going to fit in this interview as best we can when it drops, but we will get to Frank White, the Jackson County executive, who has a recall election coming up on September 30th. And he is actually speaking to Kansas City media.
Talk about a bombshell.
I know. I didn't see it coming either. But he won't return my texts. I know you're shocked by that. We'll share with you what he had to say and more coming up on 95.7 FM. Guy Benson has done a tremendous job on his show since this news broke. You got to be there 2 o'clock weekdays right here on 95.7 FM, taking you until 5, Monday through Friday. Mark is in Liberty. Good morning, Mark. You're on KCMO.
Good morning. Listen, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, it was noted that no one person is going to be able to replace him. And certainly that's true because his talent is spectacular. It would take dozens, maybe hundreds. But I just wanted to say that I think you are definitely one of those people that has that same kind of approach, that same kind of a talent and knowledge on the issues and delivery. And I just want to encourage you to keep going on because you are one of those voices we need.
Well, that's very nice of you, Mark. I do appreciate that. I will say this much. I think I'm pretty good. But the ability of Charlie to articulate his thoughts, his depth of knowledge on history, on faith, on the issues, is so impressive. I heard an interview with somebody yesterday. I actually think it was Riley Gaines on Guy Benson's show. And she said that Charlie would sometimes listen to podcasts on 3 or 4 times speed because he was able to digest the information and he just wanted to move on to the next thing. I can't do that. I know you're shocked, but I can't do that. He was really bright. And he had an ability to articulate that in a way that we haven't seen from our generation. I think there's a lot of us that do it fairly well, but Charlie was next level. And if you go back and watch his first interview on Fox and Friends when he was 19 years old, 19-year-olds shouldn't be able to articulate their thoughts the way that he did in his first ever Fox and Friends interview. And that's a combination of just God-given ability and talents and smarts, but then also utilizing it and maximizing it. And that was a big part of Charlie Kirk's pitch. Using your God-given talents and abilities to maximize your potential. He talked a lot about that. And I actually am going to play this morning an interview that I did with Charlie back in 2020. He came on the show 2 or 3 times. I went back into the archives yesterday because John is able to store every single interview that we do. And I found 2 interviews with Charlie. And the one from 2020 before COVID was to me the one that stood out above the others. So I will play that back at 8 o'clock this morning here on KCMO. You can listen to it then. And I think you'll get something out of it because it's weird. I listened back to it. And first off, I sound younger and he sounds younger. So it was 5 years ago now. He's 26. And at the time, I would have been 31, the same age that he was when he died the other day. And we both sound younger. He was not as sharp and, he still was really good. But he had even grown tremendously the last 5 years as a speaker, as someone who was articulating really deep and thoughtful conversations. He got a lot better the last few years. Not that he wasn't good in our interview, but it was noticeable how much better and sharper his arguments became in recent years. And by the way, what helped him? What helped him was doing what he did. What helped him was going to the places where people disagreed with him and debate them in a good faith manner and have those conversations. It makes you better. It's what we talked to Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas about yesterday. Quinton Lucas comes on the show. He knows it's good for him. We've never really had this conversation publicly, but he knows it's good for him and his political future to come on the show and answer questions that he will not be asked by other media in Kansas City. It's smart. It makes him sharper. It makes him better. And Charlie Kirk knew that. And when you do that dozens and dozens and dozens of times over the years, you're going to get better. It doesn't mean you're always going to win, but in many ways, it is like a sport. If you do something more frequently, you will get better at it. You will sharpen yourself. And that's what you saw this guy do. And, to lose your life at the age of 31, doing what you love, with still decades to go in fine-tuning that argument is just so sad on so many levels. But I think you're going to see an entire generation of people try to carry on that torch of Charlie Kirk's and Turning Point USA's. And the impact that this guy had on Gen Z and then also millennials is something that is just tremendous to watch unfold over the last few days. We have audio from students at KU who have been interviewed recently on local news, UMKC. There's a lot of local college students who have been reaching out. And let's be honest, if you're a college student with more traditional values at UMKC or at KU or Mizzou or any of these places, you were a fish out of water. And the one guy on a national level that made you feel like you were not crazy on your college campus, the number one guy for that was Charlie Kirk. For millions of young people, it wasn't anybody else, it was him. Because he went to your backyard. He came to your campuses. He was here in the Kansas City area. A couple of our sales folks, I forgot, they were out with him when he was at UMKC a couple of years ago. Yes, it was for the colleges, but it was open to the public oftentimes. You could buy tickets. And that's what made him so different. That's what made him so unique. In a political climate where people want to crawl back into their safe spaces and corners, he said, no, I'm doing the opposite. I'm going to the places where they disagree with me. And that's what made Charlie Kirk stand out. Frank White has spoken. We'll tell you what he said next. President Trump will be doing an interview with our friends over on Fox here in the next 30 minutes. It will be his first interview on the passing of Charlie Kirk and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And when that happens, we will make sure we get some of that to you here on 95.7 FM. It is a Red Friday across Kansas City. Glad you're joining us. Mark has the day off, but don't worry. We still have a crazy parlay that he sent to John and I last night at about 11 at night. So Mark's cooking up those parlays. We'll get to them in buy, sell, hold at 8:45 here on KCMO. So Frank White has spoken. The county executive in Jackson County is potentially 2.5 weeks away from getting recalled. But Frank White is still unable to grasp why any of this is happening. He doesn't seem capable of understanding why he is in the position he is in. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about recalling different politicians here in Kansas City over the last few years. Heck, how many recall attempts have there been against Quinton Lucas? None of them went anywhere. This one got embraced by Republicans and by Democrats, by the left and the right. Frank White's the county executive. He happens to be a Democrat, of course, was known for his baseball accolades here in Kansas City for all those years with the Royals, hometown kid. But sadly, his story arch is on the backside. And now he has become known as the county executive who has been nothing but aloof at a time when the people are hurting, at a time when folks have gotten crushed on their property taxes. So Frank sits down with KCTV5 for a long-form interview. Did about 25, 30 minutes. Now, they turned it into a 5-6 minute package because that's what TV does. And I watched the whole thing with KCTV5. And I'm listening to the start of this, and I'm just banging my head against the wall. I mean, I may go to the doctor today because I might have concussed myself banging my head against the wall listening to Frank White's interview on KCTV5 yesterday. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Later, what are you most proud of as county executive?
The progress we made. I think we made tremendous progress here at the county.
In a nearly 30-minute interview, one thing was clear. Frank White Jr. is proud to serve the people of Jackson County, proud of the rollout of the program Our Healthy Jackson County.
It's an ongoing program that I'm very proud of.
Proud of the Kids to the Parks program.
I'm very proud of taking urban kids to eastern Jackson County to enjoy those amenities.
And proud of the team who drives the county forward.
Well, I'm just proud of the people that I've brought into the administration.
Whether on the diamond or in the office, Frank White is proud of what his name and his service has meant to people.
I'm just proud of the fact that I've just been able to be re-elected multiple times, which shows that the community has a lot of trust in me.
No, that's not what it shows. It shows that the options absolutely stunk. That's what it shows. So Frank White's asked, what is he most proud of? And he kind of fumbles and mumbles around, and then he names a couple of programs no one's ever heard of. I looked up one of the things that he said he was most proud of, this organization, Our Healthy Jackson County. If you're a Jackson County resident, can you tell me if you've ever heard of that program? You can just text in at 913-408-7957. I'm not a Jackson County resident, so, I could theoretically just say I never heard of it because I'm not a resident. But I looked it up. Our Healthy Jackson County, this organization that Frank said is one of the things he's most proud of during his nearly 10 years as county executive, has a Facebook following of 110 people and hasn't posted anything on Facebook since November 14th of last year. 10 months since the organization that Frank puts at the top of his list for things he's most proud of has posted on social media. I know social media is not the end-all, be-all, but if this was like some massively robust program that was making a huge difference in the lives of Jackson County residents, I'm pretty sure, John, they would have had a Facebook update at some point in the last 10 months, man.
No, it was so effective. So effective that there's very little use now. I mean, that thing, boom, blew up.
They don't need social media, right?
It was a success. And now it's kind of tapered off. It kind of happens. You know?
That's great, man.
You met the demand.
That is absolutely outstanding. I mean, what it does, and I looked up the website, what it does is it increases access to COVID-19 vaccines and health screenings for people who live, work, play, and worship in Jackson County. Okay, that's a nice idea.
Does it say try to worship in Jackson County for
the
COVID thing? Right?
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent point. That's not what it says, but it should say that, to your point. This is a joke. As I watched the interview, the main takeaway here on Frank White was that he just remains so aloof to this recall that you can go vote on September 30th. He's completely out of touch. And at the end of this interview on Channel 5, he sits there and talks about what a great job he's done.
Look at the financial, the campaign financial statement and follow the money, then it'll answer a lot of questions for you in that area.
Did you ever think that you would get into politics?
No, I didn't.
Now reflecting on his time as a leader in both baseball and politics, White is proud of his time, and he says he has no regrets.
I pride myself on following the law, the state statutes, and then the charter. So when I started to the end and the things we've been able to accomplish, I think that most people can look at that and say that we did a great job.
We did a great job. A great job. Oh, my goodness. The guy doesn't have a single regret.
He's a nut job.
You've got to be kidding me. I understand that we are not living in a time when politicians ever admit they do something wrong. And I can't wait for that pendulum to swing back. It's on both sides of the aisle where they go out there and they say everything they do is the greatest thing ever. But, man, when you're in the local political scene and you're Frank White, and this county's been through what it's been through on the property tax fiasco and so many other things, and you can't just come out and say, I think we did a good job. I think we've done a solid job for the residents. But, of course, everybody has regrets. You have regrets waking up this morning in how you maybe handled something with your spouse in the last couple of days, something with your kids, something at work. Every day, you should have theoretically one regret because no one lives a perfect day. You have great days, and some days are better than others. Some days are worse than others, but no one has a perfect day. You're always going to have a regret. Not that you should think about those regrets and live with those regrets nonstop, but when you're a politician and you're Frank White and you're going through what he's been through, to sit there and say we did a great job, no regrets, people love us, man, he's either a great liar or he is really in for a rude awakening on September 30th when he gets smoked in that recall effort. Let's go out to John. He is a Grain Valley resident. What's up, John?
Hey, Pete, do you ever watch Yellowstone? Did you watch it?
Oh, yeah. I loved it, man. It was great.
Okay. I want you to remember. I want you to think of Frank White. I'm going to set this up. Do you remember when John Dutton became governor and he walks past that room? He goes, "What are they doing in there?" "Oh, that's your policy, Pete." "Well, how can they make policy when I'm not there?" And he walks in. The guy talks about the sage grouse and tearing up. And he finally looks at him and he goes, "You're fired." You know why you're fired, Stanley? Because you really believe this. And that's exactly how they operate on almost both sides of the aisle, but especially toward the left. He really believes I did a great job. Everything that happened was not under my control. You look at the mayors, you look at all these people. This is not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing great. You know, and that's what I always think of. You know why you're going to get fired? Because you really believe that.
Yeah.
You're oblivious to the smoke. You see the smoke. You see the flame. You feel the heat. Fire department's en route, and you go, "Well, you know, I don't think it's that big of a fire."
Yeah.
That's how they truly believe this, and this is what makes them so dangerous.
That is an excellent analogy. Anyone who makes a Yellowstone analogy is a winner in my book there, John. Nice job, buddy.
No regrets on that one, Pete.
Hey, man, he is a front runner for the caller of the day, which we announce at 9:35. That's why you got to hang out with us. If you can, just stream us when you get to the office on the KCMO Talk Radio app. That's outstanding. Man, I do miss that show, Yellowstone. It's too bad that Kevin Costner had to totally blow it up due to ego and greed. What a damn shame. But that was such a well-written show. And that's a great way to tie it into what's happening here in Jackson County with Frank White. Coming up, our 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 a.m. hour. We'll get to next on KCMO. All right, well, Frank White, if you didn't see it, sat down. The Jackson County executive sat down with KCTV5. So he did an interview.
Talk about a bombshell.
I can't believe it. Jackson County executive Frank White, who is potentially going to be recalled in 2.5 weeks. September 30th is when the recall election happens, John.
Do you have a uniform on or spitting sunflower seeds or anything?
No, there was none of that, man.
No? Okay.
No, he was just in a suit. Sitting back, talking to KCTV5. Good on them for getting the interview. I've sent Frank many a text message over the last several months, and I know it will shock you that he has not responded.
How dare you?
But it's okay. I've come to accept it. So Frank's sitting down with KCTV5, and it was just as aloof of a conversation as I would have expected. He says he's really proud of the work he's done for the county. He thinks he's done a great job. And this moment stood out to me above the rest. When the Jackson County executive, and of course, longtime Kansas Cityan, all-time Royals player, gets asked, hey, why don't you go to your own meetings? You know, the Jackson County legislature meets multiple times a month. And Frank's been to one meeting this year. Here's what that sounded like.
So I asked the county clerk, how many meetings have you attended so far this year? And she says you've been to 1 out of 34 present here in the building. Where have you been during those meetings?
I don't think that's accurate.
We double-checked. These meeting minutes show White has only attended 1 meeting this entire year. Meeting video shows his seat empty, with a staff member usually speaking on his office's behalf.
Where is the county executive today?
I don't have any information on where he currently is.
White says there's no requirement to attend meetings.
But usually when I go to meetings, it's because I'm curious about something, or if I got something to report on that's going on great at the county.
He says he does a lot of things outside of the meetings.
I cut ribbons, do groundbreakings, I do a lot of things.
You said you don't think that's accurate. How many would you say you've attended this year then?
I can't give you that number. But even if I attended none, it's still, I'm not required.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my goodness. I'm really trying to not get too upset about this.
I'm getting pissed now.
No.
I think we found the root cause.
I would say so. Well, I've been to more than one. How many you been to? I can't give you that number. Why don't you go? Well, I don't have to. What do? I cut ribbons. I tap tushes down the first baseline with the Monarchs as their first base coach. I mean, imagine being like, I don't go to my own meetings because I cut ribbons.
Nobody cares.
I mean, that is quite the sell to the people of Jackson County. He should really hit that hard the next couple of weeks ahead of the recall election. Hey, I don't go to meetings because I cut ribbons and kiss babies. Man, the word I keep coming back to is just an aloofness and an out-of-touchness from this county executive who doesn't understand why people are so fed up with his administration and why, despite so many people who have tried to recall folks like the mayor, Quinton Lucas, and other people around town, the one that's actually worked, the one that's actually gotten to a ballot, and the one that I believe is going to be a slam dunk recall is him. It's Frank. And he's the last guy to really understand why this is happening to begin with. And I can't say I'm shocked based on this reaction. We'll hear from Generald Wilson. No one does the anthem better than him. And then buy, sell, hold on KCMO.